Greenland, an icy island that barely anyone thinks about, might just be the key to dominating global trade and the economy in the 21st century. So today, you'll learn why Trump is so interested in buying Greenland, how its hidden wealth could transform the US economy, and the challenges that no one is talking about.
President Truman said, "What about Greenland?"
And make sure you stick around because I'll also reveal the hidden costs that could turn that billion-dollar idea into a financial nightmare for the US. So to go ahead and get started here, Tiara, how should we begin this one?
Let's talk about Trump's interest in Greenland.
Okay, yeah. All right, we can do that. But one thing before we do, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. I have 2 kids to feed and a wife as well.
And also an editor to pay.
And this YouTube channel is my full-time job, but I literally make $0 from it. So your support is extremely helpful, and I am very thankful for it. Anyway, back to why Trump is basically obsessed with Greenland. So Donald Trump has recently reignited his interest in acquiring Greenland. And in a statement accompanying a announcement for a new ambassador to Denmark, Trump had declared, and I quote, "So for purposes of national security and freedom throughout the world, the United States of America feels that the ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity." End quote. Now, during his previous term, he had seriously discussed the idea of purchasing Greenland for over a year and even tasked the National Security Council with exploring the whole concept. The idea initially came from billionaire Ronald Lauder, who is a longtime Trump associate. And Trump's fascination with Greenland, it seems to stem from his background as a real estate developer, as hard as that is to believe. He reportedly said, and I quote, "I'm a real estate developer. I look at a map and I say, oh, look at that island. That island's massive. That should be part of the United States."
Ah, the logic. Because if it's big and frozen, it's obviously a prime real estate opportunity.
All right, well, relax, Tiara. There is some reasoning here to where this actually it may make some sense that I'll go over in the video here. But granted, I don't really know that this explains why the US would maybe want to purchase the land, but we will get to that in a minute here. So Trump's renewed interest in Greenland isn't an isolated incident, right? It's part of a pattern of recent statements that he's had about territorial expansion, including suggesting that Canada, should become the 51st state of the US and hinting at retaking control of the Panama Canal as well. Now, you might be wondering, is Trump's interest in Greenland just him randomly wanting an island, or is there more to it? Well, it is a valid question. So, Tiara, what do you think that we should get into next here?
Let's discuss Greenland's strategic value.
Yeah. So, Greenland is the world's largest island that's not a continent. And while it might seem like a frozen wasteland at first glance, it's actually a treasure of strategic importance. Now, you may be wondering, basically like I was, just how big is Greenland? Well, by comparison, it's around 1.26 times larger than Alaska and 3.2 times the size of Texas. So yeah, we're talking about a pretty large landmass here. But even more interesting than that is this crazy statistic right here. So while Texas has roughly 25 million residents, Greenland is home to just 57,000 people, which is fewer than you'd find in most small American cities. So aside from the crazy amount of unexplored land, let's get into other reasons why this could be a great strategic purchase. So first up, let's talk about resources. So Greenland, it's sitting on a gold mine, quite literally. Greenland is home to vast deposits of rare earth elements, and those elements are in everything from smartphones to electric cars. But that's not all. Greenland also boasts significant reserves of gold, uranium, zinc, and lead. So as the ice melts due to climate change, which does seem inevitable at this point, these resources are becoming more accessible, making Greenland even more valuable to resource-hungry nations like the United States.
The classic human strategy. Destroy the environment to gain access to resources that will, in turn, destroy the environment faster.
Yeah, I really hate when TR is right, but it isn't just the resources, okay? So let's zoom out a little bit and look at Greenland's location on the map. So situated between North America and Europe, Greenland occupies a prime spot in the Arctic region. And as global warming opens up new shipping routes through the Arctic, Greenland's strategic importance is actually going to be skyrocketing. Control over Greenland could mean control over these new maritime highways potentially reshaping global trade routes completely in the future. Plus, there is a big military component to this too, which it's the US, so of course there is. Greenland is home to the Thule Air Force Base, also known as the Pacific Space Base. Forgive me if I screwed up those names, but this isn't just any military installation. It's the US military's northernmost base and a critical component of the country's ballistic missile early warning system. So in other words, it's a key player in America's defense strategy. So we've got resources, location, and military significance all wrapped up into one random icy island in the Arctic. So there is some serious value here for sure. So the question here becomes,
How would acquiring all of this actually impact the US economy?
needless to say, it would be a lot. But there are positives, negatives, and long-term considerations as well. So first, let's get into the positive impacts. Number one, Greenland's vast mineral wealth could significantly boost the US economy. Now, and I'm gonna butcher the name here, Vanefield
Kvenefeld in southern Greenland
project alone, one of the world's largest rare earth deposits, is estimated to generate annual revenues exceeding $600 million. With multiple mining projects across Greenland, the total annual revenue could potentially reach billions of dollars over time. Number two, as Arctic ice melts, new shipping routes could slash transit times and costs for US companies. So studies project that Arctic routes could be 30 to 50% shorter than traditional routes, like the Suez and Panama canals that we use today. A single trip using the Northern Sea route compared to the Suez Canal could save approximately $250,000 in fuel costs. Third, with new international airports already planned, Greenland's tourism sector is poised for growth. Passenger air traffic is expected to double from 50,000 to more than 100,000 annually in the first year of operation. And this could lead to increased revenue from tourism, which contributed almost $275 million to Greenland's economy in 2023. But of course, it's not all positive. First is the upfront cost of purchasing Greenland would likely be astronomical, potentially straining the US budget and increasing national debt even further. So the current number that's being floated out there is $1.5 trillion, but it may even be higher than that.
Pocket change for a nation that regularly debates whether its citizens should have universal health care. Am I right?
Okay, TR, you're not even wrong about that, but let me continue with the video here. Number two is that there'd be significant investment would also be needed to develop Greenland's infrastructure. So this could take years and literally billions of dollars before seeing any economic returns. And third, balancing economic development with environmental protection would be challenging and costly. Greenland has shown a lot of sensitivity to these issues, even banning uranium mining in 2021, and there would likely be fierce resistance from current residents to plunder the land for the vast resources that it provides. And fourth, Greenland's economy is currently heavily subsidized by its owner, which is Denmark. The US would need to absorb those costs, potentially for years, before seeing any economic benefits. So when we're reviewing the long-term economic considerations, here are the main things that we really want to consider. First, while Greenland's resources are valuable, their extraction and processing would require significant investment and time. The full economic potential might not be realized for decades. Number two, acquiring Greenland could strengthen America's Arctic presence, for sure, potentially leading to more favorable trade deals globally. However, it could also strain relationships with European allies if it's not managed properly. And third, as the Arctic warms, new opportunities for resource extraction and shipping routes may emerge, potentially increasing Greenland's economic value over time. But at the same time, climate change is doing irreparable harm to the land, and if we want to reverse it, it would defeat the whole purpose of purchasing the land entirely. So really, while Greenland offers some strategic, and resource potential, the economic impact of its purchase on the US would likely be mixed. The massive upfront costs and necessary investments could absolutely outweigh the economic benefits in the short to medium term. But the long-term strategic value and potential resource revenues could make it a really intriguing proposition for the future of the US economy and actually provide a massive boost if it's managed correctly, but I don't know that I trust the government to do that.
The system is rigged.
So now that we've explored the economic implications of purchasing Greenland, where should we go to next here, Tiara?
Let's move on to the feasibility and obstacles.
Okay, we could do that. So first and foremost, we need to address the elephant in the room. Now, it's been stated that Greenland, it's just not for sale. Greenland's Prime Minister, Mute Agade, I think is how you pronounce it, made this crystal clear, stating, "Greenland is ours, we are not for sale, and will never be for sale. We must not lose our long struggle for freedom." And this sentiment is very similar to the response in 2019 when Trump first proposed the idea. But the obstacles, they don't stop there. So Denmark, which has controlled Greenland for over 600 years, has also firmly rejected the notion. Danish politicians have ridiculed the idea, with one calling it final proof that Trump has gone mad. And beyond the political resistance, there are significant legal and diplomatic challenges to even consider. So Greenland, it is a self-governing territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. So it has its own parliament and, control over most domestic affairs. So any potential sale would require not only Danish approval, but also the consent of the Greenlandic people, which sounds like it would be pretty tough to get approval for. And beyond that, if we purchase Greenland, it would have far-reaching geopolitical implications as well. It could strain relationships with European allies and potentially escalate tensions with Russia, which, I don't think any of us want that right now. That all said, despite these obstacles, the US has a long history of interest in Greenland. In fact, this isn't the first time that America has considered purchasing the island. So the idea dates back to 1867, and in 1946, President Harry Truman even offered Denmark $100 million for Greenland. So what is my prediction on what will happen? Well, if you want my honest guess here, nothing. The obstacles just seem, very overwhelming, and getting a majority vote across two governments to make it happen sounds nearly impossible. Tiara, asking you the same question here. Do you think that the US will end up buying Greenland?
No, the United States will not purchase Greenland. Aside from them not wanting to sell, there are too many legal, diplomatic, and geopolitical obstacles to overcome.
So, there you have it. Neither I nor Tiara think that it'll happen. But who knows? Who knows what the future holds for sure. One thing I do know is that instead of worrying about Greenland, you should click on either of these videos that YouTube thinks that you'll like so that you can learn something new. That said, as always, make sure to subscribe to unlock financial success one AI chat at a time. Thanks as always for your support.